version of truth. Informatica MDM is a piece of software which is used to represent the best version of truth. You can also define in this way, MDM is used for deduplication process. Let me give you a small scenario, a very simple user case study. Let's take an example of, let's take an example in a telecom domain. Let's take a service provider, Airtel. Airtel has different services like prepaid service, postpaid service, broadband connections, digital connections, etc. So, as you know, nowadays, if you want to make the business, you need to enter with multiple products. You can't enter with a single product because your competitors are entering with multiple products, and you will be nowhere in the market if you stick with only single product. So you need to enter, you need to make business with multiple products. So whenever you make any business or whenever you provide any service, first of all, you collect the data. Once you collect the data, then only you'll be providing the services to the customer. So once you have data with you, what you can't do. Data is very important and data is very powerful. You can do whatever you want when you have when you have proper data. So let us assume a particular customer is using my broadband services. Okay, once I have his information and once I have his history, what all he is using, I can follow up him. Like I can give him a good tariff saying that we also provide mobile services, and this is, as you are the privileged customer, this is the plan what I give, etc., etc. So for this analysis, customer wants to pull the data from different source systems, and he would like to get the 360-degree view of the business. He would like to represent the master data. He would like to represent the golden version of truth, the best version of truth. So end of the day, he's going to pull the data from different channels and keep the single version of the customer. To eliminate the duplicates, MDM is mainly used. If you don't have MDM in place, let us assume one fine day you got a call from XYZ requesting for, he's not able to get broadband connection from past 2 hours, could you please as early as possible. Then immediately the customer care will ask, could you please give me your respective contact details when you registered our service. There is a possibility a customer can use multiple contact numbers. He can be available on office number, residential number, etc. But he has provided some other number. So when trying to pull that information from the database, call center people are not able to fetch his information from the database. They will be responding, sir, I'm really sorry, I could not fetch your information, so I could not help you. Immediately customer gets frustrated, and in market there are a lot of flexibilities, there are a lot of options. So immediately he will switch to some other service. So you might lose a customer. So when you have MDM in place, MDM has a strong match and merge mechanism, which it has a strong match in it, to be very frank. So based on that, it will pull the required information of the customer. So MDM is a piece of software which is used to represent the best version of truth. And MDM, whenever you create any table in MDM, any base object in MDM, 10 supporting tables are going to be created. Among them, the important table is cross-reference table. MDM also maintains the data lineage of the customers. It's not like that it just eliminates duplicates and it maintains a single record. It also maintains that particular record, that particular customer got from what all source systems. All that entries will be maintained in the cross-reference table, but best version of truth, the golden record, is maintained in base object. So how base object is important, in the same way the cross-reference is also important in MDM. If you see here, this is what finally the MDM output will be. If you see here, this is a prepaid system, postpaid system, internet system. I'm getting million data from these 3 systems: prepaid, postpaid, internet system. And this all data got entered into MDM. MDM has executed the match process, and MDM has identified John coming from prepaid, John Smith coming from postpaid, John K. Smith pulling from internet system. This all entries belong to the same customer. After executing the match process, don't ask me how match happens because it's a fixed subject. I'll explain when real session starts. For the time being, as a common man, matching is something comparing records with each other and identifying whether they are exactly matched, possible match, no match. So exact match is not a big deal. No need MDM to go for exact match. But possible match is a big deal. Possible match, similar matches. Okay, that is done through fuzzy match search strategy. There is a main mechanism of MDM. We'll discuss that in later. For the time being, after you get million records into MDM, MDM executes the match process. Okay, and the output will be either exact match, possible match, no match. It will create the match pairs. Then you are going to merge it. There are two kind of merge techniques: auto merge, manual merge. I'll explain what is auto merge and what is manual merge in the coming session. So here, let us assume John Smith, John K. Smith. Let us consider only name into the picture. John Smith, John K. Smith. These three entries belong to the same customer. So what is the goal of MDM? So what is the goal of MDM? End of the day, MDM represents the single version of truth, right? The best version of truth. So here, trust comes into the picture. So what is trust? Trust is a mechanism which identifies the column coming from which source system needs to be survived. Trust is a mechanism. Trust is a mechanism which identifies the column coming from which source system need to be survived. So what are the prerequisites? What are the prerequisites to get into MDM? I would like to update my skill into MDM. What are the prerequisites I need to know? Basic SQL till joins. If you are perfect, then that's enough. You don't require any procedures, packages, functions, triggers, etc. Not required. Till joins, if you are good, then that will be helpful to get into MDM. And one more. So is that Informatica, Power Center, or any ETL tool is mandatory to get into MDM? No, I say no. But if you have an ETL exposure, definitely your resume will be having weightage. So what is the role of ETL here? I don't understand what is the role of ETL. Okay. So to identify the master data, to execute the match and merge, to configure the trust and validation, to configure the match and merge rules and identify the master data, first of all, you require the data, right? Once you get the data from different source systems into MDM, then only you are going to execute the match and match mechanism, right? So how you get data into MDM? ETL team is going to provide the data into MDM landing area. Once the data got loaded, then the roles and responsibility of an MDM developer starts. So how the data gets into MDM, this is out of box to an MDM developer. But definitely your resume will have weightage when you have an ETL skill mentioned. But it's not a showstopper even if you don't know ETL. Okay? Yeah. So coming to Informatica, there is also another product that is called Informatica Data Quality. Informatica Data Quality. So in IDQ, if you people are aware, we do data profiling, and in IDQ we do a lot of cleansing, and also IDQ has a concept of match and merge. But IDQ match and merge is different. IDQ doesn't identify the best version of truth. IDQ doesn't identify the master data. It just execute the match process based on some algorithms, and it just keep the single record based on lengthwise or based on soundx algorithms, etc. But MDM is a different concept. Okay, so before you start working on MDM, a data architect will generate a lot of profile reports on the source system to analyze the genuinity of the source system. Profiling is something, when you run the profile on a table, you'll come to know what type of data you are getting in that particular column, how many nulls you are getting, how many duplicated data you are getting, what is the pattern of data you are getting, etc., etc., etc. So a lot of profiling is done on the source system. Based on the profile output, data architect will define the trust scores. Trust is nothing but it's a mechanism which identifies the column coming from which source system need to be survivor. Trust is a mechanism which identifies the column coming from which source system need to be survivor. So what data architect is going to do? He will be giving you a spreadsheet where he will tell you, boss, if you get a name from prepaid system, assign the trust score 80. If you get a name from postpaid system, assign the trust score 90. If you get a name from internet system, assign the trust score 60. Okay, after your match process got completed, after match pair got created, when you are trying to consolidate that pair into a single entry, the column coming from which source system has more trust score, that is going to be survivor. So finally, this system has more trust score, so this got survived. And rest of the information is not deleted. That is stored in cross-reference table. That is stored in cross-reference table. Base object contains per customer one record, whereas cross-reference table contains how many source system from how many source system that customer has pulled. All that information is captured in the cross-reference table. Okay, guys. So this is just an outline of MDM. Now I'll explain you how the data flows into MDM. How the data flows into MDM and what is the architecture of MDM. This gives you a complete clarity. Okay, so okay. So if you see here, this is the architecture of MDM, the hexagon diagram what you see in front of your screen. This is where the roles and responsibility of an MDM developer lies. Okay. So this is the source systems. A system which provides the data. A system which provides the data is called as source system. And these are the downstream subscribers who are interested on your master data. Who are interested on your master data. These are the downstream subscribers. Okay. So I have my business happens across different source systems. Your source can be anything. It can be file, it can be database, it can be COBOL file, it can be XML file, it can be anything. Web services, it can be anything. Okay. So from source systems, you get data into MDM landing area. Landing area is the entry point to an MDM developer. Landing area is an entry point to an MDM developer. Once the data got dumped into landing area, the roles and responsibilities of an MDM developer starts. So, what are the different ways you get data into MDM? There are two different ways you get data into MDM. One is called batch mode, other one is called real-time mode. So what is batch mode? Like, morning 9 to 6 business happens. As soon as the business got closure, whatever transactions happen on that particular day will process to MDM, right? And it's a daily basis. That is called scheduled jobs. Okay, that is called scheduled jobs, or you can also call it as batch mode. So batch mode is handled by ETL. If your client is not flexible to provide billing towards Power Center or ETL tool, then you can also write procedures and you can dump the data or insert statements, dump the data, or else SQL loaders, etc. So there are different ways where you can dump the data into landing area. This is not your responsibility, but in a proper MDM project, people use ETL tool to dump the data into landing area. And another way of getting the data into MDM is real-time services. Inbound real-time services. You go to an ATM, you swipe a card, instantly you'll be getting an alert message, near real time, like 3 to 4 seconds, right? So that is called real time. As soon as transaction happen in external application source systems, immediately the transaction has to process into MDM. that is handled via SIF APIs, Service Integration Framework, which is integrated with collection of services. I'll explain you what is SIF APIs, but for the time being, inbound real-time service is handled through SIF APIs. Inbound real-time service is handled through SIF APIs. Okay. So once the data copied into landing area, from here the roles and responsibilities of an MDM developer starts. So can I apply match and merge directly on a landing table? No. What happens if I apply match and merge directly on landing table? Why do I require stage from there? Why do I require base? Or else, why do I require a stage table? Well, can't I directly process once I get data into landing directly into the base object and perform match and merge? Okay, so let me tell you. So matching, comparing records with each other and identifying whether they are exactly matched, possible match, no match. Okay, so let us assume I defined a match rule. If name, address, date of birth, if the three columns got matched for the input records, that create a match pair. Okay, so whatever records you get into MDM, those are compared with the match rule what you define. Okay, name and address getting matched, but coming to date of birth, from one system you are collecting in DD, MM, YY format, and from some other system you are collecting in MM, DD, YY format. So you are getting different timestamp formats. Okay, so always in a match rule, match columns acts as an AND class. If name, address, date of birth, if these three columns got matched, then only it will create a pair. But here, as you are collecting date of birth in different formats, match never happens among them. Even you execute match and merge process, you end up with duplicates in base objects. This is not accepted. This is not the behavior of MDM. MDM is a software which identifies the single version of truth, right? So staging area is a temporary memory location, is a temporary buffer, is a memory buffer where all type of cleansing is done. Cleansing is nothing but conversion of one form of data into another format as per the business requirement is called as transformation, or you can also call it as cleansing, cleaning the data. Whatever format business, I mean, whatever like from different source systems, whatever format you get, first accept it, allow it into MDM, then apply a logic such a way unique format is processed to the further tables. That is what cleansing do, cleaning the data, conversion of one form of data into another format as per the business requirement. This is what we do in staging area. So how will you do this? This is done through mappings. So what is a mapping? Which is a data flow diagram which copies the data from land to stage. A mapping is a data flow diagram which copies the data from land to stage. What else you do in stage process? You configure delta detection. You can see it. You configure delta detection. So what is this delta detection? It's a mechanism which identifies the new and changed data and process into MDM. What is this all about? First time my code has moved into production. How many records are there in source system? Let us assume I have 100 records. I processed 100 records into MDM, 100 records to land, 100 records to stage, 100 records into base object. Then on top of the base object, executed match and merge and identified the best version of truth. Next day, 10 new records got introduced to my business, 10 new transactions has happened, and 5 existing customers got changed their information. 10 new customers got introduced to the business and 5 existing customers got changed their addresses. Okay, so now when I execute the job for second day, business happens on a daily basis, right? Your job needs to trigger on a daily basis and you need to monitor it. So next day when you run the job, will you extract 110 records from source system, or will you extract the records which are not there in MDM but there in source system and which are there in MDM but with updated field information. So you need to build a mechanism which identifies the new and change data and process into MDM. In this scenario, I'm going to pull only 15 records from source, which includes 10 new records and 5 change records. Okay, so this is called delta deduction. In MDM, delta deduction is very simple. You are not supposed to do anything. Tool will do everything for you. Just you need to enable the delta deduction, that's it. Whereas in Informatica Power Center, you write a lot of logic to implement delta deduction. Delta deduction is nothing but incrementally extracting the source data. Delta deduction is nothing but incrementally extracting the source data. Okay. So in the stage process, you configure delta deduction and you do a lot of cleansing. And what else you do in the stage process? You can see a raw table, reject table. Raw table is nothing but copy of source data for a certain interval of time. Raw table is nothing but copy of source data for a certain interval of time. You can ask me a question. When we have data in source system, why do we require to copy the same data in raw table again? Sometimes you get a request from the business to analyze some information. So when you get a request from the client to analyze some records, then you can't access source system all the time. This is not our application. You have a limited access to this window from 2 to 3 hours. So if you have the copy of source data into your environment, you don't have any dependency. Whenever you get any analysis, you can file the queries on raw table and you can view the data. So raw table, but do I need raw table? No. Because again you'll be getting a space issues. So just you can configure the raw table for a certain interval of time, last 5 loads or last 3 loads or day-wise basis. It's up to you. Tool provides you the flexibility. Raw table is nothing but copy of source data. I'm sorry, I lost audio connection. No problem. I'm back. Okay. Next comes reject table. This table is very, very important. If you get 10 records into MDM, you need to ensure all the 10 records got successfully processed out and you identify the master data. You should not, I mean, even if a single record got dropped, even if a single record got rejected, that means you're missing a valuable business information, right? So, why the record will get dropped? Why the record will get rejected? There are several reasons. Like in MDM, you have lookup concepts, and when you have invalid lookup values, then a record will be rejected. Length issues, data type issues, null checks, constraints issues, and user-defined validation rules. You might reject. The record, if it's not in a valid format, it might get rejected. So there are several reasons. So end of the day, you need to ensure whatever record you got from source system got successfully processed out. Even if a single record is dropped, you need to capture, you need to track why that record got dropped with an error description. And once the data got stored in the reject table, you can work either proactively or reactively. Proactively is something, as soon as the process got completed on a daily basis, you need to file the queries on the reject table and you need to pull the list of the records which got rejected and what is the reason behind the rejection, and you need to process it to the source functional team. They will be looking into the error description, they will format the data, and they will upload the rejected data with fresh data in the next business hours. Reactive is something you got an escalation from the client saying that John K. Smith is a valuable customer. I'm not able to see his information in MDM. Could you please explain what happened wrong? After backtracking, you have noticed John K. Smith sits in the reject table with an error description, null check, something like this. Then immediately you'll follow up with the source functionality and source team will format it and they reprocess it. So this is something reactive. It depends how you work. Then from stage table, you're going to dump into the base objects. I told you when you create a base object, 10 supporting tables are going to be created. These all are the supporting tables. But for the time being, I'm very much interested only on base object and cost. So guys, try to understand. When you create a base object, in base object, there's an important column that is called as consolidation indicator. There is an important column that is called as consolidation indicator. When first time you copy the data from stage to base object, as a developer, you just copy the data into base object, but tool loads all the supporting tables based on the process what you are triggering. So when I just execute the load process, the data is copied into the base object. The same data is copied in the backend into the cross-reference table. In the base object, you have a column which is called as consolidation indicator. So it has the flag values 4, 3, 2, 1. So when first the data copied into the base object, the consolidation indicator will be 4. 4 stands for brand new record. Okay. Then what you do on the base object, you configure trust and validation rules. I just explained to you the concept of trust. You won't do anything. Data architect will give you the trust scores. You need to just configure the trust scores on the source systems. A trust is a mechanism which identifies the column coming from which source system need to be survivor. Then what is this validation rule? I'll give you a small scenario, guys. I have two systems, system A, system B. Let us assume I'm getting a name from system A and system B, okay? And I have given, if name comes from system A, assign the trust score 90%. And if a name comes from system B, assign the trust score 80%. One fine day, what happened? The name from system A, I'm getting less than 3 characters, or I'm getting some gen characters. But from the name from system B has a proper name, proper format. But when you're trying to merge the record, the column coming from which source system has more trust score, that is going to be survivor, right? Obviously, the gen characters or less than 3 characters from system A is going to be survivor. So to change this behavior, you can define the validation rule. Validation is nothing but a filter condition. You can define a logic saying that if length of name is less than 3 characters, or if is null of length, then downgrade the trust score by 30%. Then what happens? The next competitive system will become survivor. You understand, right? If the record coming from system A is met with the validation rule what you define, then what happens? You are downgrading the trust score. Then what is going to happen? The next competitive system is going to be survivor. The name from system B is going to survivor, which has a proper information. So validation rules are used to downgrade the trust score so that the next competitive system will become survivor. Okay, that is called validation rule. So on base object, you configure trust and validation rules. On top of it, you configure matching. Okay, so based on the matching, you will configure either to go for auto merge or manual merge. Auto merge means what match rule you have configured and what input records has satisfied with the match rule, what pair has been created. You are 100% sure that those records belong to the same customer and no need of any reviewing the data, reviewing the pair. So directly merge it. That is called auto merge. Manual merge is something where human intervention is required. Manual merge is something where human intervention is required. You are not 100% sure the match rule what you configure and what input records are met with that rule belong to the same customer. You want to a review. You want to do a human review before you merge it. That is called manual merge. And unmerge is something, the reversal of merge is called as unmerge. You got an escalation from the business on what match rule you have merged this customers. These are the two different customers. How come you have merged it? Then you need to analyze the match rule and you have to decide whether to add any extra match columns or whether you have to remove the match columns which make this culprit. And from 4 to 3, 3 to 2, 2 to 1. Let me explain you what is 4 to 3, 3 to 2, 2 to 1. When first data gets into MDM, the consolidation indicator will be 4. When first data gets into MDM, the consolidation indicator will be 4. 4 is a brand new record. When you execute the match process, the consolidation indicator will turn from 4 to 3. And as soon as the match process got completed, the consolidation indicator turns to 2. And when you execute the merge process, the consolidation indicator turns to 1. 4 stands for brand new record, 3 stands for Q for match, 2 stands for Q for merge, 1 stands for golden record. End of the day, after you execute the match and merge process, in base object per customer, you see only 1 record. That would be the consolidated record. That would be the best version of truth. Whereas in cross-reference table, that particular customer has pulled from how many source systems, all the multiple entries of the same customer will be stored in cross-reference. I can put in this way. The data lineage of the customer is stored in the cross-reference table, whereas the single version of the customer, the best version of truth per customer, single record is stored in base object. If you join the base object with cross-reference table, you get the complete 360-degree view of the customer. Okay, and after you identify the master data, it doesn't make any sense if you don't publish the master data to the downstream subscribers who are interested on your master data. So it can be any system. It can be a data warehouse. It can be any system. ERP systems. It can be anything. Okay. So how the data is published to the downstream subscribers? Again, it is done in 2 ways. Batch mode, real-time mode. Batch mode is handled by same ETL process. Now, real-time process. Outbound real-time service. I told inbound real-time service is handled by SIF APIs. Inbound real-time service is handled by SIF APIs, whereas outbound real-time service is handled by JMS queues. Outbound real-time service is handled by JMS queues. Whatever transaction happened on your base object, whatever change event happened on your base object, a new record got inserted, a record got updated, or a cross-reference got updated, or a two pair got merged, whatever change event happened in MDM, that change event has to immediately replicate into the JMS queues via XML messages. Okay, outbound real-time service is handled by JMS queues. So what is your responsibility here? You need to create a queue. You need to integrate that queue with MDM Hub. You need to ensure whatever changes happen in MDM base object, the change is replicated to the queue. After that, downstream subscribers will file the queries and pull the respected messages from the queue. That is not your responsibility. Your job lies where you ensure whatever change event happened on the base object, that is replicated to the queue. So here, people ask me how much of Java I need to know to get into Informatica MDM. Informatica MDM is only an MDM tool which is a GUI based. Rest of all MDM tools are Java oriented, Java based. And the competitive in MDM market is IBM MDM to the Informatica MDM. IBM MDM is completely Java based. IBM MDM is completely Java based. So in Informatica MDM also, there's a piece of code which is Java based. That is called user exit. That is called user exit. Let me tell you a scenario where you require a Java. For customization, you require a Java. So what do you mean by customization? What things you can't do with MDM Hub, those you can achieve writing the code in Java. That is called customization. In MDM, at which level customization is required and what is the concept for? If you see here guys, this is how the data flows in MDM. Source to LAN, LAN to stage, stage to base objects to match, match to merge, finally publish. This is what we discussed in detail in the architecture session a few minutes back. When data flows from one component to another component, in between, if you would like to control the data, if you would like to execute some SQL, or if you would like to customize something, this you can't handle it through MDM. In the runtime, you can't control the data flow through MDM. This can be achieved using user exits. So user exits are nothing but which are implemented in Java, which are used for customizing the loads when data flow from one component to another component. Earlier, right now we are working on 10.1. Earlier, when we were working on 9.7, there was no Java. This user exits, this customization was written in database packages. But there are some restrictions if you write a code in database packages. So what they have done from 9.7 onwards, they have migrated this complete user exit concept into Java. As you people know, Java is an ocean. You can do whatever you want. So you require a core Java to write these user exits. Trust me, I'm not familiar with Java, as I'm also from Power Center background, so I'm not flexible with Java. So Java is not a showstopper. Java is not a showstopper, but definitely your resume has weightage, and this is the layer where you work on Java. And another layer where we work on Java is, I told that inbound real-time service is handled by SIF, right? This SIF can be invoked in 3 ways: using HTTP, using web services via SOAP, using Java. So here, if you don't know Java, then also it will work out, because you can invoke SIF APIs through web services as well. So here Java is not mandatory. But to work on user exits, core Java is required, but no worries, even if you are not from Java background, still you can survive in the MDM market. But down the line, you need to get exposure towards Java. But trust me, Java is not a showstopper to get into Informatica MDM. So these are the prerequisites what you need to get into MDM, and I'll be sharing you the course content as well. This is the course content what I'm going to cover, and I'll be providing the recorded sessions on a daily basis, and I'll be giving you server access, like how you access in your office environments. We'll be giving you VPN. To VPN, you need to access our network. Once you connect it to our network, you can access the software from your local environment itself. So this is the complete course content what I'm going to cover. I'll share you. And I have a lot of materials. We'll be sharing you a lot of materials. These are all materials I'm having. I'll be sharing you these materials. Recorded sessions, access to practice the lab. And the course duration will be 25 to 26 sessions. Yeah. Any questions you can ask me. This is a quick demo what I planned for today.
Could you please mention, you were telling about user, about outbound. Can you please mention what is that?
If you don't mind, could you please be a bit louder? I heard something like outbound real-time service and user exit.
Yes.
The question was not clear.
So I'm not clear about what is that. You mentioned about outbound and you mentioned about user. Yeah. I just got the user part. I didn't get the part. What is that?
What I was trying to tell you is, like, you know, MDM gets data in 2 ways: inbound real-time service and outbound real-time service. Inbound real-time service where you get data. Inbound service is handled in 2 ways: batch mode, real-time mode. Batch mode is handled by ETL and real-time service is handled by SIF. After you get data, you copy the data from LAN to stage, stage to BO, you configure trust, validation rules, you configure match, merge, and you identify the best version of truth. After you identify the best version of truth, what you're going to do? You're going to publish the master data. So the publish is done in 2 ways: batch mode, real-time mode. Batch mode is handled by ETL and outbound real-time service is handled by JMS queues. So queue is nothing but a buffer, a memory storage area. So whatever change event happened on the base object, you need to ensure the change has replicated, translated to the queue in the form of XML messages. Then downstream subscribers will pull the messages from the queue. That's not your headache. Your responsibility lies till you ensure the change event what triggered on MDM is replicated to the queue. That is outbound real-time service, which is handled via JMS queues. I'll be explaining this outbound real-time services, how to configure the queue, and how to ensure what change happened in MDM has replicated to the queue. And next one I talked about user exit, that is for customization. When data flows from one component to another component, in between, if you would like to do some customization, before loading the data into stage table, Okay. Or else after the data got loaded into stage table, before running the load process, I would like to archive the reject table, as reject table is a truncated load, but I would like to archive the reject table. So MDM doesn't give you a flexibility. You need to write a user exit for that. It is called post-stage user exit. As soon as the stage process got completed, this particular procedure will be triggered, which archives the reject table. Example. So this is built in Java, core Java. So this is a showstopper if you don't know Java. Where is the ETL comes into the picture? Already explained, this is where ETL comes. Source systems to landing. ETL team will pull the data from source systems and dump into the landing area. This is where the role of an ETL team comes into the picture. ETL tool comes into the picture.
Here we have a lineage. You mentioned lineage. And now when in Informatica, when we do right click and we say dependencies, we get all the lineage, right? So how it is that different from this?
What lineage? I'm sorry.
Can you hear me now? Hello?
Could you please repeat your question again?
Yeah, you have mentioned lineage. MDM Informatica, MDM does lineage as well. But in normal Power Center also, when you right click.
I'm sorry, I lost your voice. Could you please come again?
Yeah, I'm talking about lineage. Informatica Power Center also has lineage, right?
I'm just back. You can ask me if you have any questions. I need to run into another session, so please let us be a bit fast. If you have any questions, let me know.
Hey, Vamsi, I had a question.
Yeah.
I now understand where Informatica Power Center is and MDM is. How does the IDQ fit into all this?
IDQ, yeah. See, two things. When you configure the trust core, on what basis you configure the trust core? First of all, you need to run the profiling. In IDQ, there's an IDQ main concept is data profiling. To analyze the genuinity of source systems, you run the profile. Column level profiling, midstream profiling, join analysis profiling. There are a lot of profiling which are done in IDQ. So by doing that profiling, you'll come to know the genuinity of the source system. Based on that, data architect will define the trust codes. So that is one layer. And another one, Informatica MDM is not a product of Informatica, and it doesn't have a strong cleansing capability, because Informatica MDM is an acquired product. This has been acquired from Siberian MDM, and they have not developed any new enhancements in this. They just invested a lot of money in advertising, but they are using the same functionality. So here, the cleansing is not that much strong as Informatica Power Center or Informatica Data Quality. So what Informatica has done, they give you flexibility where what cleansing you can't achieve through MDM, but most of the time you can achieve through MDM, all cleaning activities and everything. But if you get a customized requirement which you can't achieve through MDM, Informatica provides you a flexibility where you can clean the data, you can develop a logic in IDQ, and you can directly dump into stage table. That is called series Informatica platform staging, where you can apply the cleanse logic in DQ and you can directly dump into stage table. So DQ is not mandatory. In some scenarios, if you have a DQ exposure, your resume will have weightage, but it's not mandatory to get into MDM. MDM is quite independent. You don't require any prerequisites. Just you need to know SQL and basic Java. I hope your question got answered.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah.
So, Vamsi, you were telling that Java is a prerequisite. So,
no, yeah, your voice is very low. It's very hard to understand.
So, how Java is required? I'm like, in what basis? When it comes to outbound, you're saying.
I explain you very clearly. Like core Java is required. for working user exits, to do the customization. That is the only layer where you require the Java. It is just a small part of MDM. It's a small part of MDM. Trust me, already all customizations are there in place. You get everything in Google, but just you need to understand the code and you need to change it as per your project requirements. Yeah, but there will be some scenarios where you need to write a code from scratch to implement user exits. Customization, if you want to do the things what MDM can't provide, what MDM Hub can't, you can't do it using MDM Hub. Those customizations you can do it writing Java code, and you can import, you can export that Java files into jar files into MDM Hub. Okay, and as I told you, SIF, there Java is not a showstopper because SIF can be invoked in multiple ways. Even if you don't know Java, then it's fine. So only user exits is a showstopper to get into MDM. If you don't know Java, user exits is only showstopper. And how much of Java I require? Basic Java.
Okay. So you will be able to show. You'll be able to explain that.
I'll show you a sample user exit. But if you ask me to write from scratch, I'm also not from Java background. We have some user exits, sample user exit. I will execute it and I'll show you.
Okay, definitely, yeah. And one more thing, Vamshi, and your voice is sometimes it's a little blurry, and some words I'm not able to capture.
I'm really sorry. Today I have some network issues. From next session onwards, I'll ensure, network is fine because I don't know what problem is happening today. I'm getting some spikes on network, so I'll ensure from next session the session maintains a quality.
Yeah. Apart from that, if you can, if you open the notepad and write the words, something that is not there on the PPT.
I'll do it. I'll do it.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm like, that part I feel a little uncomfortable.
Generally, I'll do that. Generally, I'll do that. But today, I have not followed that practice. As a trainer, definitely, I write in a notepad the important points, whatever I feel it requires an action to be noted. But today, I missed out because I'm facing some network issues. So in that hurry, I missed to write it down. Yes. Thanks for your input. I'll ensure I'll make it a note.
Yeah, not to worry. I'm like, but that point is you were explaining very good, but the only thing is
true. I understand. Yeah. Generally, I used to document, but I missed it today.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, guys. I need to rush into another session. Thanks for your time. Have a great day. Bye bye.